What's up, YouTube? How's everybody doing? It's your boy Reg here. Before I start this review, I want to give my condolences to West Coast legend by the name of Badass. He died, I want to say, 2 days ago in prison and stuff like that. For those who don't know who Badass is, he's an MC originally from Hawaiian Gardens, California, and stuff like that. He joined the LBC. He joined the LBC crew, which was Snoop's crew, with like Trey D and South Central and whatnot, whom I'm gonna mention in this forward review and shit. But the performance that really made me recognize Badass was when he appeared on Tupac's song "Crazy" from the Don Illuminati album, which, in my opinion, one of my favorite Tupac albums of all time and shit. Well, excuse me, Machiavelli, excuse me and shit. And he's done like many guest appearances on like people like Snoop's work and shit like that. I gotta keep it a buck with everybody. I've never actually heard an album from Badass because never really caught on to him. But he's someone. It's like I never had any dislike for him, but I just never heard a full album. But I've heard many people say that his debut album, "Word on the Streets," was a dope album. So I'm definitely gonna check that out. I hate the fact that it takes a nigga to die and shit like that just for me to check out his music, but it is what it is. That's how he discovered good music. So I want to say rest in peace to Badass. And there's actually some controversy going around because he was actually arrested for I think domestic charges days prior to him in prison. A lot of people want to say that he was killed in prison, but we'll wait till it's actually revealed. They didn't actually give a final word yet, so man, losing like a lot of West Coast icons this year. But yeah, let me start this review. And the review I'm about to do today is this is the Russell Simmons presents the show soundtrack, released in 1995 on Def Jam Records. You guys, for those of you guys who don't know, the show was actually a documentary series that debuted in 1995 by Brian Robbins. Just talking about hip hop at that time. Had like a lot of exclusive interviews with cats like Biggie, Tretch, Wu Tang. Excuse me. It was best known for like the infamous Wu Tang argument and shit like that, and the Slick Rick prison interview and shit. So this soundtrack was released and stuff like that. So a little disclaimer: this is actually the clean version. I know it's actually a clean version. I know, but I couldn't pass out a chance when it comes to albums like this, especially on a vinyl. Couldn't pass on the chance, but it had a couple of singles. This album was released with a couple of singles. Like the official singles, I should say, was "Live," playing in the background by Onyx, which was also on the "All We Got Is Us" album. Which I'm just gonna spoil you guys right now. I'm not gonna talk certain songs. I'm not gonna talk about on this album. Like I'm not gonna talk about "Live" by Onyx, which I've already discussed about that. "All We Got Is Us." Not gonna. I'm not really gonna talk about "Papa Love It" by LL Cool J because of the fact that, again, I've already talked about that. I already talked about that song. When I did that segment, the Double L Cool Down segment on I think the Mr. Smith review and shit. So I'm not gonna talk about that. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, everything else I'll just say what I have to say. Everything else, but yeah, the official singles were Onyx, "Live," and Method Man and Redman, "How High," which was actually like the first song that they've done together. Other singles were like "Kill Them All" with Cali Ranks and shit like that. Hmm, "Summertime" in the LBC, "The Dove Shack," which that was also on their debut album. "This Is the Shack," which I definitely need to get my hands on that album. I definitely need to get my hands on that album. And yeah, that's all I can think about for right now. So yeah, man. When it comes to like hip hop soundtracks, this is definitely one of my favorite hip hop soundtracks and shit like that. Like the '90s and I want to say early 2000s definitely was like the golden age of hip hop soundtracks. The Juice soundtrack, Menace to Society, Tales from the Hood, the Set It Off soundtrack, which That was a very slept on soundtrack. I don't hear a lot of people discuss the Set It Off soundtrack. And even and this album too and shit, which this is probably like one of my top favorite soundtracks and shit because it definitely has like a very diversity between East Coast, West Coast, um yeah, mostly East Coast and West Coast and shit like that on this album. Producers off this album include Federal Onyx pretty much, Easy Mo B, D Dot, Amen Ra Ron, Amen Ra Lawrence, Eric Sermon, DJ Unique, Sean Puffy Combs, Nashima Rick, or should I say Love, Sean Puffy Love Combs, excuse me. Desmond Divine Houston, Isaac, Joseph Simmons, Domino, Henry Hank Thomas, Lamont Sleepy Turner, Prodigy. No, not the Prodigy. Prodigy from Mobb Deep. Rest in peace to him. Talking about the Prodigy from the South Central Cartel and shit. Jam Master Jay, Tony T Funk Prayer, Dave Swing, Warren G, LL Cool J, Ty Fife, Q-Tip, Andrew Masop, and Mark Pomeroy. And people who were on this album were Kid Creole, Kid Capri, and Ecstasy, Onyx, Slick Rick, Tupac, Sugar, Method Man and Redman, Dr. Dre, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Mary J. Blige, Notorious B.I.G., Isaac the Isaac, Domino, The Dove Shack, Tretch, South Central Cartel, J.O. Felony, MC8, Shakilla, Spice One, Trey D, So Centrell, Snoop Doggy Dogg, Warren G, LL Cool J, Tribe Called Quest, Warren G, Stanley Clark, and Cali Ranks. Also, one more disclaimer. Even though I named the guest appearances, not every guest appearance I named rapped. There was actually what's interesting about the soundtrack was there was some excerpts from like the movie documentary, like from rappers, like not running too long, maybe like for 15 to 20 seconds, is talking about the state of hip hop and shit like that, which I'll talk about more when I review this album and shit. Yeah, this is the album cover right here. Very dope album cover and shit. Love that joint. You got the fucking credits and everything like that. Yeah, man. Alright. 27 songs. Y'all know what I'm about to do. Track number 1, Hip Hop Is, performed by Kid Creole, Kid Capri, and Ecstasy. Nothing really too much with this. It's just really talking about what hip hop is and shit like that. You know, what hip hop stands for. Pretty much what hip hop stands for and stuff. Yeah, man. Very, very dope intro. And then like I mentioned before, I'm not really gonna discuss live because if you guys want my full thoughts on that, I'll go check out the All We Got Is Us review, which I've done last year. But just to clarify, I felt like it was a very dope song. Pretty much like a Slam Part 2, pretty much. But yeah, very dope. That's live. Then track number 3, we got Move On, which is a little skit with Slick Rick and shit like that. Like I mentioned before, this was during the time when he was in prison for. This was during the time he was in prison, you know, for shooting his cousin and shit like that. Yeah, man. He just saying what he has to say about prison. Like I said, very dope interview from Slick Rick and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Next track, My Block, which was performed by Tupac Shakur. Very dope song. This is pretty much one of my favorite Tupac songs. Way better than that remix that appeared on the Better Days album and shit like that. That posthumous album. Yeah, what I got from this is talking about, it just has that homecoming feel to it, that home feel to it and shit like that. Yeah, man, love that fucking beat. I love the line when he says, The only time they notice a nigga's when a clenching on a 4-5. My neighborhood ain't the same cause all the little babies going crazy and they suffering in the game. And I swear it's like a trap, but I ain't giving up on the hood. It's all good when I go back. Hoes show me love, niggas gave me props. Forever hot cause it don't stop on my block. And that's so true too because that's definitely so true too because the fact that you have those motherfuckers these days that they'll definitely like leave the hood and shit. They make it big. They leave the hood and shit like that. And then they come back to all these motherfuckers envy and shit like that. And it's sad to say that our people just don't want to see us being successful. It's sad to say, but I always loved this song because it was just a realistic fact about just growing up in his block and shit like that. So yeah, Tupac my block. And like I said before, stay away from the remix from Better Days and shit. Track number 5, What Up Star. This song actually features Sugar. For those who don't know, playing in the background and shit. For those who don't know who Sugar is, she's an artist that was signed under JMJ Records and shit like that. J Master J's label. Recipes to J Master J. And so the single that she came out with was this one, What Up Star and shit like that. If you guys notice the sample, it used all my Lil Kim fans should definitely know about that sample. That's all I'm gonna say right there and shit. And I definitely love this fucking song. It definitely got that mid-90s hip-hop feel to it and shit like that. That bad boy, I want to say that East Coast bad boys, mid East Coast feel to it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all definitely know what I'm saying. And of course, you guys should know D Dot. D Dot. He actually produced this track, and you guys have heard the name D Dot before because he also goes by the Mad Rapper. So yeah, the Mad Rapper also produces too. So yeah. Track number 6, Headbanger Boogie featuring. That's a Method Man excerpt. Yo, that skit is funny as fuck because fucking Meth, being the weed head he is talking about, how he can't just smoke regular weed. He likes different types of weed because it just enhances creativity and shit. So, yeah, all my weed heads should know about that shit. And which leads us to track number 7, How High, featuring Method Man and Redman. Man, this is probably my favorite track off this album, pretty much, and shit. I love this track because it definitely has that classic Eric Sermon feel, classic Eric Sermon beat. This was the first song that these two done together because in 1994, both of these niggas dropped albums that time too. Like Method Man had Tikal, Redman had Darius the Dark Side, both dope classic albums in my opinion. And they started performing together and touring together because they had Russell Simmons made like this promotion called what's it called? I had it. Month of the Man. Yeah, excuse me, Month of the Man. Hence the names Method Man and Redman. And so yeah, these two toured together, and the rest is hip hop history. And mind you, Redman's last verse actually got the Source Hip Hop Portable and shit like that, and he was definitely going in. Like Method Man definitely did his thing too, but I felt like Redman stole the show with this song right here. Like I'm gonna just read some lines like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. This is Method Man, by the way. 3, 2, murder 1, lyric at your door. To Cal, bring me to that ass raw. Breaking all the rules like glass jaws. Nigga, you got to get mine to get yours. Fucker, we don't need to rap tour. I'd rather kick the facts and catch you with the rapture more than you bargained for. And then Redman says some shit like, I be's the ultimate rush to any nigga on dusty Egyptian must used to have me pull mad sluts. I ship like a clutch with the ruck. A mat examine my nuts. I don't stop till I get enough. Your shit broke like your flare. Since the dark side tears you into Hollywood squares. 6 million ways to die, so I chose. Made it 6 million and one with your eyes closed. Like fucking ill like that. Both of them were just definitely on their A game. at that fucking time and shit like that. I gotta talk about that Blackout album one day. I definitely gotta talk about that. But yeah, and also the remix is dope. I kind of prefer the video version over the album version, me personally. But both of them were definitely dope and shit. Yeah, that's fucking How High, Method Man and Redman. And like I said before, dope beat by Eric Sermon, by the way. I always love that beat. Track number 8 is a insert called "It's Entertainment" with Dr. Dre. How he's talking about how hip hop, gangster rap at that time was getting like a lot of scrutiny and a lot of backlash at the time, and Dre's pretty much saying that when people like Snoop or MC8 and so on just talk about what they have to talk about on wax and shit, it's basically just letting them know. Excuse me, hold up. Basically just letting them know like what goes on or what they're experiencing shit. It's not telling like the listener to actually do this shit. You know what I'm saying? Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. My throat was a little dry, but yeah. So basically, just saying, don't just follow what the rappers saying. They just listen to the experience and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But which leads us to track number 9, "Everyday Thing" with Bone Thugs and Harmony. Oh my fucking god, this is another dope track. Another dope track and shit like that. Definitely had that E99 Eternal, or maybe like creeping on a come up feel to it and shit like that. Both albums, some of Bone's best work and shit. Love the beat by DJ Unique and shit. It's an everyday thing to let you know. That's my shit right there, man. Then next track, "Everyday It Rains" with Mary J. Blige. Queen of Hip Hop Soul herself makes an appearance on this album. Yeah, man, you can, and again, you can definitely feel like this song had like a My Life feel to it and shit like that. Dope song, nice beat. Of course, uses that Lou Donaldson sample and shit like that. Very dope Mary song in my opinion. Shit, very dope song. I feel like this song and "Not Gonna Cry" are definitely two of her best songs that appeared on soundtracks and shit. Which I definitely need to get my hands on that Way Into Exhale soundtrack. I don't really care for the movie like that. It's well acted, but that soundtrack just goes hard and shit. That's all I'm saying. Next track, "It's All I Had." That's a Biggie excerpt right there and shit like that. Yeah, that's pretty dope and shit. Next track number 12, "Old School." Pretty cool song by this group called Isaac to Isaac. I can't really find too much information about Isaac to Isaac pretty much, but this song is definitely a cool song. It uses that a famous Isley Brothers sample and whatnot. So yeah, y'all definitely like that. Track number 13, "Dominoes in the House" featuring Domino. Yeah, Domino, man, very dope rapper and shit. He around that time he dropped his self-titled album and shit like that, self-titled debut album and shit. And that's the thing about the West Coast, Def Jam and the West Coast, because of the fact that they had like a dope lineup of West Coast artists like Domino, Warren G, the whole Dove Shad Twins, Jay, not like they were definitely doing. If I'm not mistaken, I believe BJ Knockout and Dresta out because Outburst was owned by Def Jam and shit. If I'm not mistaken, I think they were under Def Jam and shit, but BJ Knockout and Dresta. And by the way, I don't really support what those niggas be doing and shit, but that Real Brothers album is fucking fire and shit. West Coast classic. Like, I don't care what these niggas do in their personal life, but yeah. Let me just look it up, just double clarify myself. Yeah, that was a Def Jam release too and shit like that. So yeah, Yeah, man, people slept on the West Coast in Def Jam and shit, but yeah, Dominoes in the House, that was a very nice little banger and shit like that. Definitely had that like mid West Coast G Funk feel to it and shit, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm getting at with that. Um next track we got is Summertime in the LBC featuring the Dove Shack. Yeah, the fucking Dove Shack, like I mentioned before, they were affiliated with, Warren G and shit like that. They made an appearance on Warren G's debut album, Regular G Funk Era, dope album. And then the next year, they was big with that Summertime in the LBC song from that This Is a Shack album, which, like I mentioned before, I need to get my hands on that album, but it kind of goes for like a lot of money. Well, it kind of goes high in price sometimes and shit. But yeah, very dope song. I like that song. Got that West Coast summertime feel to it. Very dope. I love that shit. Track number 15, The West Coast. That's a skit performed by Tretch. Tretch is pretty much just explaining like explaining the difference between like East Coast and West Coast, and how like the West Coast, whenever they tell stories, is like more vivid than the East Coast and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what I got from that. Track number 16, So What You Saying? That's a posse cut with South Central Cartel, J.O. Felony, MC8, Shakilla, Spice One, and Tretch himself. Very, very dope posse cut right there, man. Like, they all did their thing, in my opinion, but to me, the nigga that really went in was fucking J.O. and Tretch and shit like that. They were those one of the ones who went in and shit like that. Like fucking J.O. Felony saying, "Pissing in the cup and I'm not giving a fuck. It's on. Fuck Oliver Stone. He made colors. Getting paid off. Gang banging. I want my money, motherfucker. I'ma bump ya, plunk ya like a chicken and cut your head off." Like just some shit J.O. was saying, and then Tretch said, cause he had beef with Ain't Banks boss Spice One. They try to hide in Jersey. That was the wrong fucking move, the wrong alley. To think the murder squad only had connections in the Cali. Yes, with the murder, I said it flex. West Coast to East Coast quicker than Federal Express. Cause we strike and we don't lack for the whack. The T to the R to the E to the A to the C to the H is back. Like, man, Tretch, man. Very dope MC, underrated MC. Man, like, fuck. Track number 17, Zooms, and a Wham Wham. That's what's performed by J.O. Felony. That was performed by J.O. Felony and shit like that. That was pretty solid song. Pretty solid song and shit like that. J.O. definitely doing his thing. Putting it down for the West Coast and Def Jam. Track number 18, Dropping Bombs, featuring Trey D and So Central. Again, like another solid song. Trey D definitely a dope West Coast legend and shit like that. A lot of people have said that. I like the line when he says, "Beat so hot I have you rising like a biscuit. To the shiznit that I can bitches get drop kicked. Give your ass a sling with the cavi in my pocket. I'm going to rock it." Like, yeah, I love that fucking line and shit. Dope line. Then we get to Save Yourself with Snoop Dogg and shit like that. Just talking about, his career, whatnot. Track number 20, Still Can't Fade It, featuring Warren G. Yeah, pretty solid song by Warren G. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to talk about Papa Love It by LL Cool J, because I mentioned that song. Track number 22, Glamour and Glitz with the Tribe Called Quest. Funny story about that song, though. That song was actually pretty much was a Q-Tip and a Consequence track. And it was one of the few times where like Q-Tip's production credit was actually his government name and whatnot. So yeah, so this is during their time when, Consequence was definitely getting in a Tribe Called Quest and shit like that, Yeah, that era. That's all I want to say. Track number 23, Nothing But a Drum Beat. Russell Simmons talking about, how people how scratching guitars and hip hop and shit like that. Pretty interesting. Track number 24, Kill Them All. That's with Cali Ranks and shit. Cali Ranks is a dance hall artist around this time that signed to Def Jam and shit. Unfortunately, he never really put out an album. He never really put out an album. He just collaborated and shit. And from what I know now, he definitely has his own label. From what I looked up, so yeah, very dope song. Nice little dance hall track. And the last official song, Me and My Bitch, live from Philly. That's performed by Biggie and Puffy. Pretty much, it's Biggie performing Me and My Bitch over the Zap Computer Love sample and shit like that. Yeah, pretty straightforward. It was a nice performance, and shit like that. Big did. Track number 26 is What I Feel Inside with Kid Creole and Ecstasy. Nothing really too much with that. And track number 27, Stanley Clark and Slick Rick, The Show, The Theme. Yeah, nothing really too much with that too. And yeah, that's all what I got with this album and shit. Overall, very dope soundtrack. Very dope soundtrack. I feel like this soundtrack definitely is one of like hip hop's, most beloved soundtracks and shit like that. Just for the diversity alone of like the East Coast, West Coast and shit. And around that time, the East Coast, West Coast beef was brewing up and shit too. So definitely love this. Not a bad track on this soundtrack too. And yeah, I just wish these days like a lot of soundtracks, people would do like more soundtrack for their movies and shit like that. Like, they're kind of like trying to bring that back now, with the Lion King soundtrack with Beyonce and Kendrick Lamar doing like the Black Panther soundtrack, which those were pretty cool. I'll give them that, but just want a full on hip hop with the occasional R&B soundtrack and shit like that actually just goes with the movie and shit. So yeah, very dope soundtrack. Love this shit. Unfortunately, this is actually out of print, so if y'all can find this soundtrack, must own your collection. And that's all the time I have. Stay tuned for more. Click that subscribe button. Peace.